All this week, News Center 4 and the Rocky Mountain News will take you behind the deadlines for a look at how the news that you watch and read is put together every day. Now, tonight, it's news on television, and Ralph Allen describes what goes on behind the scenes before one of us says, good evening and welcome to News Center 4.
Television is undeniably an impact medium.
Hands on top of the car. Put your hands on top of the car.
TV news can dish out powerful stuff. It requires a bit more than someone saying, smile pretty for the camera to get this kind of story on the air. It requires planning. That process begins early in the morning at KCNC. News managers meet to rough out the ever-changing story rundown.
How should we be handling better here at 4:30 and 5?
It is left to assignment editors to tell reporters and photographers the stories they will cover. The big story today, day one of the Better Air campaign.
What you have today is the lead package, which is the hard package on the campaign and what it means.
Television is at its best covering what is called breaking news. That is news of the unscheduled variety.
We saw the destruction, we saw the clearing and the rescue efforts, and then we realized that the need for help is real.
Technology linked to satellites can put your local reporter almost anywhere.
And the ability to apply that technology in a meaningful way to breaking news, that those are the most exciting challenges that our business faces.
Certainly, TV news is a team sport. From the reporter to the photographer to the support personnel back at the station, all have to do their jobs. Even if they do, the end result can still be surprising. Jeff Kaufman produces the 10 o'clock news at KCNC. He decides which stories get on the air and how long they will go. Brevity is next to godliness with Kaufman, since he always has more stories than he has time. KCNC executive producer David Lucci.
And if you give some stories a lot of time, that means some other stories may not air at all.
In 10 seconds, stand by one.
On most days, a sophisticated on-air product emerges. We're not always sure how, and we're never absolutely sure that it will. TV news is, after all, high-drama journalism. Tomorrow night, an inside look at the Rocky Mountain News. Ralph Allen, News Center 4.
Gee, a lot of that stuff I didn't even know.
Me either. If you're looking for Larry Green, he's just around the corner.
Or just on the far side of these commercials, so stay with us and we'll be right back. Behind the deadlines, there's a lot of news judgment. Decisions have to be made about what news should be covered and how much time or space it should get. And some media critics suggest that news organizations have an overriding interest in making money, sometimes at the expense of good journalism. In our continuing series with the Rocky Mountain News, Ralph Allen says that the need for profits can affect the way we do the news.
Each weekday afternoon, Denver's two leading news stations compete with one another by giving away thousands of dollars in cash and prizes on their 4:30 newscasts.
Now, if I add that up correctly, that is about $35,000 that we've given away in about the last 3 weeks.
It is.
Here.
The cash giveaways represent a calculated business decision by the management at KUSA Channel 9 and KCNC Channel 4. If the money attracts more viewers, then the stations can charge advertisers higher rates to get their messages on the air. But mixing news programming with game show techniques does not win universal praise.
That's probably the major blemish on local news as far as I'm concerned. It is a sign, I guess, of the competitive nature of Denver television, and particularly the competitive nature between Channel 4 and Channel 9.
We, in fact, tried to stop doing a couple of months ago, tried to stop the contest because of the criticism. But the fact is that our ratings declined.
The Broncos draw huge TV ratings in Denver. The team gets lavish coverage by the Denver media. There seems to be more than a casual connection. Rocky Mountain News editor Ralph Looney.
We're reacting directly to what readers are interested in.
Mr. Looney's newspaper showed little restraint when the Broncos joined the other teams in the recent NFL strike. Day after day, the Rocky Mountain News gave the strike front-page play.
I'm at Bronco headquarters right now.
Denver television stations were in lockstep with the newspapers.
There were stories that were displaced by the Broncos and the NFL strike.
So the Broncos sell.
Sure, they sell.
It can be credibly argued that news organizations better serve the public because they make money.
If we are going to be able to pay for the huge capital investment that it takes to run a news organization like this one, we have to be successful in the ratings.
Journalism, as some critics point out, is the only constitutionally protected business around. It is, as it should be, held to a high standard. Tomorrow night, Gary Hart looks back on his media coverage. Ralph Allen, News Center 4.
We'll be back to show you what winter looks like tonight in Washington, D.C.
And Larry Green will show you what Indian summer was like here in the Rockies. So stay where you are. We'll be right back. Behind the deadlines, there are people. People in the news, people affected by the news. Some claim the news media ignore the people in all the words and pictures. Gary Hart thinks so, and Ralph Allen talks with him tonight in part 4 of our report with the Rocky Mountain News.
It took years for Gary Hart to position himself as the frontrunner for the Democratic presidential nomination. It took one weekend in the company of ex-model Donna Rice for everything to unravel. Hart is troubled not only with his ruined candidacy, but with the way the story was covered.
When Lee and I came back to Denver, we were pursued from Jefferson Airport to our house by helicopters from local stations. And then when we got there, our road was jammed, literally, with hundreds of still photographers, print journalists, radio and television people, sound trucks, satellite trucks, and helicopters hovering over our house. Now, I don't know what those people were looking for.
As to the story itself, Hart believes he got caught in a media hurricane, spawned by what he regards as unhealthy competition among networks, TV stations, and newspapers.
There's good competition and there's bad. Good competition would increase the intensity of serious news collection and presentation. I think rather what's happening is competition is driving the quality and caliber of political journalism, and that's the element of the media I'll talk about, downward in terms of treating serious things seriously.
Most news people flatly reject Hart's explanation. They believe his conduct was a serious issue because it called into question his judgment and his character.
Gary Hart is not somebody who I will lose a lot of sleep worrying over the fate of Gary Hart and how we treated Gary Hart.
Channel 4 News Director Marv Rockford does lose sleep over the sensitivity issue, which is raised by Hart and many other people.
Why is that you think we've overstepped the bounds? Would you like to ask the president a question who's overstepping the bounds? Is he a king?
White House correspondents, irritated because President Reagan seldom holds news conferences, yell questions at him. Educators attending a White House ceremony take on the correspondents. Fair or not, reporters get rapped for being insensitive. And there are the stories told about the media by people who have suffered great loss. Blood-curdling stories about invasions of privacy and tasteless questions from overeager reporters.
Because if we don't learn to discipline ourselves and control ourselves in those situations, there's going to be a great deal of sentiment on the part of the public for somebody to control us.
Tomorrow night, we switch gears and talk about news personalities. Ralph Allen, News Center 4.
Have taken you behind the deadlines for a look at the news business in Denver. And we're going to wrap it up tonight with a look at the people that television stations and the newspapers hope will induce you to watch and to read. Ralph Allen reports on the news personalities.
How do you become a TV news personality? Looks may not be everything, says one cynic, but don't even consider a career in TV if your video dating service just dropped your account.
Please, stay set on 4.
No video dating service would drop Madeline McFadden's account, and McFadden is a rising news star in Denver. Soon after her arrival, salons around town copied her hairstyle and called it, what else? The McFadden. Yet McFadden did not just walk into the job. She has spent her share of time learning the news business in various small towns around the country. McFadden resists the inference that her success is tied to her looks.
It's flattering and it's nice, but at the same time it's really frustrating because there's more to it than what people see or what they take a lot of times or what you get credit for.
Bob Palmer is a news personality of another sort. Palmer has spent his whole career in Denver. Along the way, he's attained a level of news credibility most broadcasters will never reach.
People trust you that much, you'd better darn well live up to that kind of trust.
Ron Zappolo, Linda Farrell, Larry Green, Ed Green, all of them are highly valued at Channel 4. They get major credit for the station's rise in the news ratings. They can expect to get major blame if things start to head the other way.
The single most important reason that people choose one newscast over another is the anchor person, the anchor people on that newscast.
Taking a page from television, many newspapers now have their own personalities and promote them as such. The late John Coit was a genuine newspaper star. Coit was one of those larger-than-life figures whose column touched an incredibly large cross-section of Denver society, from bikers to yuppies. His untimely death was mourned by thousands.
John sort of was in some ways the epitome of a newspaper columnist. He got in tune with his readers very quickly and wrote about topics that affected their lives.
It is inevitable that the people we watch every night, read every day, should become as trusted friends. In a society that is in so many ways impersonal, maybe that's not so bad. Ralph Allen, News Center 4.